Welcome to this section of the tutorial. For this section, we go look at lookup function. Wetin be lookup function? Just as the name imply, we dey use lookup function to look up certain values in a given data set. So for instance, maybe we wan observe a larger data set and we wan look a particular value for inside that data. We fit enter lookup function to give us the required value wey we dey find for that particular data. The lookup function dey categorized under Excel lookup and reference function. The function na to perform a match lookup either in a table and it go return the corresponding value from the table. So for instance, maybe we wan create a mini table out of a bigger data set, or maybe we wan create a mini table out of a bigger table. We fit populate our data inside the small table by matching the values inside the bigger data set. So lookup itself na function, but e get some advanced versions, and some of those versions include the Vlookup, also known as vertical lookup, Lookup, also known as horizontal lookup, and Lookup, wey dey more recent than lookup, Vlookup, and Lookup. So Vlookup, this one dey search for value in the leftmost column of a table, and then it go return that value in the same row from another column wey we specify. While Lookup, it dey search for value in a row in order to return the value from a different row in that column. So make we quickly see some examples of how we fit use lookup functions. Make we go our table. So imagine say we get this table with the employee code, with the name of the employee, with the branch where the employee dey work, and the department where the employee dey work. And maybe we wan look up a particular employee code wey be say we go get the name of the person wey get the code instantly. So make I do am for here, for this cell. So we can go to our function, then lookup function, lookup, go. So lookup, it looks up a value either from one row or one column range or from an array. So make we press OK. So now our lookup function be this. It say this lookup function has multiple argument lists. Please select one of them. Now the two arguments be this, but now only this one we go do for this tutorial. So the lookup value, the lookup vector, and result vector. So if we click OK, so they ask us, say, wetin be the lookup value. So make we choose our lookup value. So we won't look up the person we get this employee code. So make we type the employee code 298374. So and then our lookup vector. Now the place where we won't look them up. We won't look them up for this set of data. So A1 to A11. And so our result vector, now the result what we want. So we won't look the name of the person we get this employee number. So the result what we want na name. So we go select the list of names and then click OK. So our answer now Olumide Alo. So the person we get this employee code now Olumide Alo. So now how we fit use simple lookup with this? This kind of function will be very important for us if we get large amount of data and we want just quickly make a very quick search. So the same way, if no be name we dey find, if now maybe the branch, we fit just come to the place where we choose the list of names, highlight them. You see as we highlight them, it don't highlight this one in red. Make you pay attention to the colors. You see say this color red, and so the border of this particular list red. So it show saying that this particular list we highlight. So you see say this one blue. You go see say na blue borders this one gets. So make you pay attention to the colors. So now if no be name we want, make we change this one to branch. We fit just highlight the branch instead of the name. Make we highlight the branch. So instead of B1 to B11, we now have C1 to C11. So if we press enter, so instead of giving us the name, it will return the branch for us. So now the branch be this, just branch. So that's how we fit use lookup function to search for values within a data set. So make we check Vlookup. So for that, make I create another table. So now we don't create another table, but inside this new table, now only employee code be the information we did there. We no get the name, the branch self no dey there, and the department no dey there. So make we see as we fit use Vlookup populate this table from the main table. So make we start from the name. So make we go our function, Vlookup. Okay, so it looks for the value in the leftmost column of the table and then returns a value in the same row from a column you specify. By default, the table must be sorted in an ascending order. So maybe we click OK. So we have our lookup value, our table array, our column index number, and range lookup. So wetin be our lookup value? Our lookup value na any data wey we fit take reference the main table. Our table array na the table, the main table wey we dey search our data from. Our column index number na the index number of the column wey we wan select our data from. Usually na from the main table. And our range lookup na either the exact lookup number or the approximate number. So for example, if it be -1, 0, or +1. So just as we learn am for integer. So for example, make we quickly see I quickly show a small example about range lookup. So I go use the integer concept. So for our integer, we remember say it go from our straight line, they go from -1 to +1. So get our -1, 0, and then we get +1. And then we have our straight line. And so for this our range lookup concept, if we use 0, we go get the exact number. While if we use -1 or +1, we go get the approximate number. So for -1, maybe our value we want match na 100. So if we use -1, we go get numbers wey dey close to 100, maybe, but wey dey lesser than 100, maybe 99, 98, and so on. And if we use +1 and the value wey we want match na 100, we go get values wey close to 100 but we pass 100. So maybe like 101, 102, and so on like that. So 0 na exact match, -1, +1 na approximate match. So make we go on. So wetin be our lookup value? Our lookup value, as we don talk before, na something wey we fit reference the main table. So this table get employee code. This our new table get employee code. So if we click on A15, which is A106 in this table, both tables get the same values for employee code. So we don't get our lookup value, which is our reference. Then our table array, now the table where we want search our data from. So see, is a table of text, numbers, logical value in which data is retrieved. So now from this table we want retrieve. So make we select the data. It dey better to select just the data and not the headings, so that it go reduce error for our work. So from A2 to D11, now our table array be that. Now wetin be our column index number? So now the name we define, and our column be this. Now column 1 be this, column 2 be this, column 3, column 4. So this 1, 2, 3, 4 now the index number of our columns. So because say na name we define, now column number 2, because now column 2 be this. So if we enter 2, and then for our range we define the exact match, the exact value. So we go use 0. So if we click OK, so A106 Igbeti Olunloyo, so you don't return the name. So the employee code na A106 and the name na Igbeti Oluloyo. So we see say it don't match am for here. So make we do the same to A107. So instead make I go the insert function. Make I just quickly type am is equal to Vlookup. So wetin be our lookup value? Now our reference. So A107 and then comma, and then wetin be our table array, the table where we want search our data from. So then a comma. So the column index number now the name we define. So that one dey column 2. So make we enter 2 and then our range lookup 0 and close the bracket, enter. So our answer now Ikechukwu Chidima. So make we cross check am Ikechukwu Chidima. So now so we fit use Vlookup. So the same thing if we even do am for branch, if we say is equal to Vlookup, then wetin be our lookup value A106 and that one dey cell A15 and then comma. So wetin be our table array, we want look am for this our table and then our column index number. So because say na branch we dey find now, no be name, so our column index number could be column 1, column 2 and column 3. So now column 3 be this, so we go enter 3 and then no be approximate match we define, na exact match we define. So remember wetin we talk about integers. So if we click on exact match, or if we just enter 0 and then press enter, so it don't return them for us. So and then the same way we fit do them for department is equal to Vlookup our lookup value A106 our table array. This is the table where we search the data from, and our column index number now 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So make we enter 4 and then 0, close bracket, enter. So we have Igbeti Oluloyo from the just branch and from the trainee department. So make we check on just and trainee. So now so if we use Vlookup to extract a table from another bigger table. So make we use our autofill handler for this one. Make we use autofill handler for this one. Okay. So but we get small issue for here. Okay. So make we quickly check wetin be the issue. Okay, so make we quickly check our formula. Make we check our main formula. So A15, which is the reference number. Okay, we got that right, and then we got the table right. Now the table be this. So you see this is in red, and our table also shows that we have selected the right table, and then 2, which is the index column number, and then our range lookup. So our formula dey correct. So make we check what will be the problem for here. Okay, so cell A20, that one our reference cell for here. So that one dey correct. A7 to D16. Okay, so if you look this one now, you go see our table don't shift from the old table here, you don't shift down here. So this red line, these borders, now our table for this. So now why would they get error message for you? So now here the problem there. So make we not forget what we learned in the last session about referencing. So our absolute referencing and relative referencing. Automatically our cells dey relative referencing and our formula save the relative referencing. So what happen be say as we use the autofill handler for here, our reference they move down. But it be like say when it can't get to A110, you know say this one start from A101 to A110, and this one stop at A110 and then start at A101 again. So our reference don't move down. So you know cover the reference data we will take match this value for this our new table. So how we fit take rectify that one? So wetin we go do na to use absolute referencing. So make we correct am for our main formula. So if we click on the first formula wey we use, so we see say na the table be this. So make we block this table, make we turn am to absolute referencing. So this table no go dey move down again. So how we fit do that one? Make we block am. So we fit block am with F4, or we fit just enter am manually. The dollar sign in front of the columns, and then the dollar sign in front of the rows. So make we do am for this one too. The dollar sign here and the dollar sign here. So make we press enter. So if you press enter, we use the autofill handler. So you see that one don't correct the problem. So the same way we fit do am for branch. So make we just put the dollar sign in front of the rows and the columns to block that table, and then press enter. So as we press enter, we will use the autofill handler to correct the problem. And so here too, make we enter absolute referencing, dollar sign. The dollar sign na we dey take block rows and columns. We don't learn that one before. Enter, and then autofill. So make we take another example. So we get another table for here. So we won't get our price for each of these menu items. So make we quickly use our Vlookup function. So is equal to Vlookup. If we press Vlookup, so wetin be our lookup value? Our lookup value na the reference between both tables. This table get menu item and this one self get menu item. So now our reference, now this one we go use to our reference table. So if we click, so we go click pizza, and then wetin be our table array. Now our table array be this. Make we select our table, comma. Then so wetin be our column index number. Our column index number now 1, 2. So 2 because our price we define. So our column index number now 2. And then our range lookup now 0. So if we close bracket, press enter. So pizza is 3,500. So if we bring it down, okay. So some errors dey here. So make we check. Most likely because of the referencing. So you see our table don't shift. So make we reference, make we do absolute referencing for the table array. So we don't reference our table array, and so we fit use the absolute referencing. So we don't get our price. So now so we fit use Vlookup to extract data from a particular data set. So make we look at example of H-lookup. Just as we don't talk, Vlookup na vertical lookup, H-lookup na horizontal lookup. Our table be this. It is similar to the previous table where we used to do our Vlookup example. So we get our employee code, name, branch, and department, but for this table now only employee code we get, and so we want match them with this parent table, and now H-lookup we want use. So make we use them. So equal to H-lookup. So wetin be our lookup value? Just like we don't learn for Vlookup, our lookup value now the values wey be say we fit take and reference our parent table. This will be our reference value because this table get employee code and this one get employee code. So now our reference value be this, and then wetin be our table array. Now our table array be this. Now where we define our data to match, and then our row index number. So instead of column index number, now our columns be this and our rows be this. So now row index number will define now. Now name will define, and name day row 2. So 2, and then our range lookup 0. So if we close our bracket and we press enter, it go bring out the name for us. So make we drag them down. Okay, and then make we also drag them to fill the rest of the table. So Lookup na just horizontal lookup, and Vlookup na vertical lookup. So na the same concept, just that na the arrangement different. Instead of column for Vlookup, we go use row for Lookup. So that is that about the Vlookup and the Lookup function. So Lookup, wetin come be Lookup? Lookup na like modern replacement for Vlookup, Lookup and Lookup function. E dey more flexible and more versatile. Lookup fit find values in horizontal or vertical ranges. E fit perform approximate and exact matches. Another thing wey Lookup fit do be say e fit search data starting from the first value or the last value. So Lookup also offers several advantages. Some of the benefits na say Lookup fit return multiple results. The default of Lookup na exact match, while Vlookup the default na approximate match, except say you enter say you want exact match. Lookup fit perform reverse search. If you return entire rows and columns and not just one value, and if you work with arrays natively to apply complex criteria. So because in our modern lookup function, so no be every Microsoft Excel spreadsheet if it work on. So now here we go stop for this tutorial. See you in the next tutorial.